I watched my daughter-in-law's coffee mug shatter against the kitchen tile. My son's hand was still raised. The Sunday morning quiet of my house had just been shattered along with that mug. My grandchildren, Emma, 7, and Lucas, 5, froze at the breakfast table, their pancakes forgotten. My wife Margaret had stepped out to the garden not 2 minutes ago. "Clean it up," my son Ryan said to Jennifer. His voice was flat, cold. Nothing like the boy I'd raised. Jennifer dropped to her knees immediately, her hands shaking as she picked up the ceramic shards. A thin line of blood appeared on her thumb. "Ryan." My voice came out harder than I'd intended. He turned to me, and for just a second, I saw something flicker across his face. Shame? Fear? Then it was gone, replaced by that same flat expression. "She was complaining again, Dad. About my work hours. You know how it is." I didn't know how it was. I'd never thrown anything at Margaret in 42 years of marriage. But I kept my mouth shut and watched. Watched how Jennifer wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. Watched how the kids seemed to shrink into their chairs. Watched how Ryan's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. This wasn't the first time, I realized. This was practiced, rehearsed, a dance they'd all learned the steps to. "Kids, why don't you take your plates to the living room?" I said quietly. "Cartoons are probably on." They didn't need to be told twice. They grabbed their food and fled. Ryan followed them out, leaving Jennifer on the floor with the broken pieces. I knelt down beside her. "Jennifer." "I'm fine, Mr. Patterson. Really. It was just an accident. The mug was slippery from the dishwasher and—" "How long?" Her hands stopped moving. "What? How long has this been happening?" The tears came then, silent and fast. She pressed her lips together, trying to hold them back, but they kept coming. She didn't answer my question. She didn't have to. I helped her to her feet, guided her to the sink to rinse the cut on her thumb. Through the window, I could see Margaret among her roses, completely unaware that her son had just thrown something at his wife in our kitchen. "Do you have somewhere you can go?" I asked quietly. Jennifer's laugh was bitter. "With what money? Ryan handles all our finances. I don't even have my own credit card anymore. He says it's better that way, simpler. He gives me a household allowance." And she stopped herself. "I shouldn't be telling you this." "Yes, you should. He's your son. And you're my daughter-in-law. Those kids in there are my grandchildren. And what I just saw was not okay." She pulled her hand away from mine, wrapped her arms around herself. "You don't understand. He's under so much stress at work. The new position, the long hours. He just needs time to adjust. And I know I can be difficult sometimes. I push his buttons when I shouldn't." I'd heard these words before, 40 years ago, when I'd been a young patrol officer in Detroit, before I moved to management and eventually retired as deputy chief. I'd heard them from women with black eyes, broken ribs, worse. The rationalizations, the excuses, the slow erosion of self-worth until they couldn't even recognize abuse anymore. "Jennifer, stress doesn't make a man throw things at his wife. Difficulty doesn't justify. Please," her voice cracked, "please don't make this bigger than it is. I can handle it. I just need to be better about not upsetting him." Ryan appeared in the doorway. "Jennifer, we should get going. Kids have soccer this afternoon." She straightened immediately, wiping her face. "Of course. I'll get their gear." She brushed past Ryan without looking at him. He watched her go, then turned to me. "Dad, I know what you're thinking, but—" "What am I thinking, son?" "That I'm some kind of monster. But you don't know what it's like, living with her constant criticism, her nagging. Every single day. It's something. I'm not home enough. I'm not present enough. I don't help enough. A man can only take so much. So you throw things at her?" It slipped. I was gesturing and— "Don't lie to me, Ryan. I saw what I saw." His face hardened. "You saw me lose my temper for 1 second. That's all. Everyone loses their temper sometimes. Not like that. You know what, Dad? I don't need this right now. We're leaving." He turned and strode out. I heard him calling for Jennifer and the kids, heard the hurried scramble of everyone gathering their things. Margaret came in from the garden just as they were heading out the door. "Oh, are you leaving already?" But I was going to make lunch. Sorry, Mom, Ryan said, kissing her cheek. Soccer schedules, you know how it is. She hugged Jennifer, who kept her face turned away. Come back soon, dear, and bring the kids by during the week if you want. They love helping me with the garden. We'll see, Ryan said, his hand on Jennifer's elbow, guiding her, controlling her movement. The door closed. Margaret turned to me with a smile that faded when she saw my face. John? What's wrong? I told her what I'd seen, watched her face go pale, then flushed with denial. No, Ryan wouldn't. He's not like that. You must have misunderstood. Maybe the mug really did slip. Margaret. He's our son, John. Our baby. We raised him to respect women, to be gentle, I know what we taught him. I also know what I saw. And I know what Jennifer's face looked like when she was making excuses for him. Margaret sank into a chair. What do we do? I don't know yet. But I need to make some calls. The first call was to Patricia Rodriguez, my former colleague from the department. She'd spent the last 15 years running a domestic violence intervention program, one of the best in the state. John Patterson, she said warmly when she answered. It's been too long. How's retirement treating you? Not great right now, Patricia. I need your advice. I told her what I'd witnessed. She listened without interrupting, the way she always had. When I finished, there was a long silence. You're sure about what you saw? I was a cop for 35 years. I know what I saw. And the victim, Jennifer, she's making excuses? Textbook ones. Another pause. John, you know as well as I do that the most dangerous time for a domestic violence victim is when they're trying to leave, or when someone tries to help them leave. I know. So if you're going to do something, you need to be smart about it, strategic. You can't just confront your son or try to pull Jennifer out of there. It needs to be her decision, when she's ready. What if she's never ready? What if next time it's not a coffee mug? Then we make sure she has resources, support, an escape plan for when she needs it. Patricia's voice softened. I'm sending you some information. Support group meetings, legal resources, emergency shelter numbers. Can you get them to Jennifer? I'll find a way. And John, you need to talk to your son. Not confrontationally, but clearly. He needs to know that what he's doing isn't acceptable, that there are consequences. Sometimes that's enough to make them pause, especially if it's coming from someone they respect. We talked for another 20 minutes. She walked me through warning signs, escalation patterns, safety planning. By the time we hung up, my head was spinning and my chest felt tight. My second call was to my lawyer, David Chen. We'd gone to college together, stayed friends for 40 years. John, good to hear from you. What's up? I need to know my legal options. If I suspected someone was being abused, someone in my family, what could I do? David was quiet for a moment. Is this hypothetical? No. Jesus, John. Okay, walk me through it. I did. When I finished, he sighed. If you witnessed assault, you could technically report it to the police. But without the victim's cooperation, it likely wouldn't go anywhere. No injuries that required medical attention. No previous police reports. First offense, he'd probably get a warning at most. What about custody? If things escalated, that's trickier. Family courts want to keep kids with both parents when possible. Unless there's documented abuse of the children or serious danger to the mother, they usually prefer supervised visitation over removal. But if you're worried about the kid's safety, you need to document everything. Dates, times, what you witnessed. Build a case. I'm worried about Jennifer's safety. Then you need to help her build her own case. Encourage her to photograph any injuries. Keep a journal. Talk to a lawyer herself. But you can't force her, John. She has to be the one to take action. We talked through options for another 30 minutes. When I hung up, Margaret was standing in the doorway. Who was the third call? She asked quietly. I looked at my phone. Haven't made it yet. Who are you calling? Ryan's mother-in-law. Linda. Margaret's eyes went wide. Jennifer's mother? John. You can't... She'll think we're accusing Ryan of... We're not accusing him of anything. We're making sure Jennifer has support from her side of the family, too. But what if she doesn't know? What if we're exposing something Jennifer wanted to keep private? Then she needs to know. And Jennifer needs to know she's not alone. I found Linda's number in Margaret's phone. They'd exchanged numbers at the wedding 6 years ago. The phone rang 4 times before she answered. Hello? Linda. This is John Patterson, Ryan's father. Oh, John. Hello. Is everything all right? I'm not sure. Can we talk? Just you and me? Parent to parent? There was a pause. This is about Jennifer, isn't it? My breath caught. You know? I suspected. She's been different the last year or so. Quieter. Always checking her phone like she's waiting for permission to breathe. And she stopped calling me as much. Said Ryan thought it was better if they had their own family time without too much outside interference. Linda's voice cracked. I told myself I was imagining things, that every marriage goes through rough patches. But I've been worried. Linda, I saw him throw a coffee mug at her this morning. In my kitchen. The sound Linda made was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Oh, God. Oh, Jennifer. She's making excuses for him. Of course she is. That's what she does. That's what she's always done, even as a girl. Make excuses for other people's bad behavior. Take the blame herself. Linda was crying now. What do we do, John? Tell me what to do. We talked for over an hour. Made plans. Coordinated. Linda had resources. I didn't. Women's networks. Church groups. A daughter-in-law who ran a women's shelter 2 towns over. Between the information Patricia had sent me and what Linda could access, we built a safety net. I'm going to call her tomorrow, Linda said. Tell her I'm coming to visit next weekend. She can't say no if I just show up. Good. Margaret and I will invite them to dinner again. Keep the connection open. Let Jennifer know our house is safe. John, thank you for calling me. Thank you for not covering for your son. After I hung up, I sat in my study for a long time. The weight of what I'd set in motion was just starting to settle on my shoulders. This was my son, my boy, the kid I'd taught to ride a bike, taken to baseball games, walked through his first heartbreak, and now I was plotting against him, because he'd become something I didn't recognize. Margaret came in with coffee. She sat next to me, took my hand. You did the right thing, she said quietly. Did I? Or did I just make everything worse? You gave Jennifer options. That's more than she had this morning. Over the next week, things moved faster than I expected. Linda flew in on Thursday, told Ryan she wanted to spend time with her grandkids. He couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. Margaret invited them all for Saturday dinner, a do-over of the Sunday breakfast that went wrong. Ryan showed up tense. He barely spoke through dinner, just watched Jennifer with this intensity that made my skin crawl. Every time she laughed at something, Margaret said, he'd clear his throat. Every time she passed something to Linda, he'd shift in his seat. The kids were quiet too. Too quiet. They ate without talking, asked to be excused the second they finished. After dinner, Margaret suggested the men do cleanup while the ladies took coffee in the living room. Ryan started to object, but Linda was already herding Jennifer away. In the kitchen, I handed Ryan a dish towel. We need to talk, son. About what? About what I saw last week. His jaw tightened. I told you. It was an accident. Ryan, I've been a cop for most of my life. I know the difference between an accident and violence. So what? You think I'm abusing Jennifer? That's crazy. I think you're under stress and you're taking it out on your wife. And I think it's escalating. You don't know what you're talking about. I set down the plate I was holding and turned to face him fully. I've arrested men who said exactly what you're saying right now. Men who started with throwing things and ended with their wives in the hospital. Or worse. Ryan's face went white, then red. How dare you compare me to? I'm not comparing you to anyone. I'm telling you what I've seen. Not just last week, but over the last year. The way you talk to Jennifer. The way she flinches when you raise your voice. The way your kids go quiet when you're angry. So, you've been watching me? Judging me? I've been worried about you. About all of you. Well, save your worry. My marriage is fine. Is it? Yes. But his voice cracked on the word. I took a breath, tried to channel every ounce of patience I had. Ryan, When you were 10 years old, you came home crying because Jimi Hendrix had shoved you on the playground. Do you remember what I told you? He didn't answer, but I could see he remembered. I told you that using physical force against someone weaker than you wasn't strength. It was cowardice. That real men protected people. They didn't hurt them. Do you remember? That was different. How? Because Jennifer's not some innocent kid on a playground. She knows how to push my buttons. He stopped himself. She what? She deserves it? I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? Ryan slammed the dish towel on the counter. I'm saying that marriage is complicated, Dad. It's not black and white. It's not good guy, bad guy. Sometimes we both say things we don't mean, do things we regret. Does Jennifer throw things at you? No, but does she make you afraid? It's not about fear. It's about... Then what's it about, Ryan? He turned away from me, braced his hands on the counter. His shoulders were shaking. For a moment, I thought he might actually open up, might actually be honest. Then he straightened, turned back to me. His face was a mask again. You know what? I don't need this. I don't need my own father acting like I'm some kind of criminal. Ryan, no. You want to believe I'm this monster? Fine, believe it, but stay out of my marriage. He stormed out of the kitchen. I heard him calling for Jennifer, heard the familiar scramble of everyone gathering their things. Linda tried to convince Jennifer to stay. I haven't seen the kids all week, but Ryan was insistent. We have an early morning tomorrow. They left. The door closed. The silence was deafening. Linda came into the kitchen, her face drawn. She slipped me a note. She handed me a small piece of paper, torn from a grocery list. In shaky handwriting, "He's been worse since last week. I'm scared." Margaret saw it over my shoulder and made a small sound of distress. What do we do now? Linda asked. I pulled out my phone. Patricia had told me that if there was immediate danger, if I truly believed someone was at risk, there was one more call I could make. We call someone who can help. Tonight, I dialed the number Patricia had given me. It rang twice before a calm, professional voice answered. Crisis Intervention Hotline. This is Sarah speaking. My name is John Patterson. I'm a retired deputy chief of police. I need to report a domestic violence situation, but the victim isn't ready to come forward yet. I need to know what options we have. Sarah listened as I walked through everything what I'd seen, the note, the escalation, my concerns. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Mr. Patterson, without the victim's cooperation, there's limited intervention we can do directly. But what we can do is create a safety net. If you're willing to be listed as a safe contact, if her mother is willing to be listed as a safe contact, if we can get Jennifer into our system even just for information that gives her an escape route when she needs it, she might not reach out. Then we need to reach out to her. With her mother there, can you get Jennifer to call this number, even just to talk? No pressure, no judgment, just information? Linda nodded. I can try. Sarah talked us through the plan. Linda would call Jennifer tomorrow, suggest a coffee date, accidentally leave information from the women's shelter in Jennifer's car. Margaret would text Jennifer throughout the week, casual messages, letting her know she was thinking of her. I would document everything I'd witnessed, dates and times, in case Jennifer ever needed evidence for a restraining order or custody hearing. We were building a case, building a safety net, hoping that when Jennifer fell, because at this point, it seemed like a matter of when, not if there would be something to catch her. 3 days later, my phone rang at 2 a.m. Margaret stirred beside me as I answered. Dad? Ryan's voice was rough, scared. What's wrong? I need help. I did something. I need help. My heart stopped. Where's Jennifer? We had a fight. She's locked in the bathroom. She won't come out. I didn't mean to. My hand just... He was crying now. Dad, I'm scared. What do I do? I was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. Did you hit her, Ryan? Silence. Did you hit her? Yes. God. Yes, I hit her. I didn't mean to, I swear. We were just arguing, and she said she was going to take the kids and leave, and I lost it. Is she hurt? I don't know. She won't talk to me. She just keeps saying she's calling the police. Good. She should. Dad, please. You have to help me. You're a cop, you can. I'm retired. And I'm not going to help you cover this up. So that's it? You're just going to let them arrest me? You assaulted your wife, Ryan. Yes, they should arrest you. He made a sound like a wounded animal. Fine. Fine. I don't need you. I don't need any of you. He hung up. I immediately called 911, gave them Ryan's address, told them there was a domestic disturbance in progress, and the victim was locked in a bathroom. Then I called Linda. Get over to Ryan's house. Now. Jennifer's going to need you. Margaret and I arrived at Ryan's house 20 minutes later. 2 police cars were already there, lights flashing. Neighbors stood on their lawns, watching. I saw Jennifer in the back of one of the cars, not arrested, just sitting there with a blanket around her shoulders, while a female officer talked to her. Linda's car screeched up behind mine. She ran to the police car, and after a brief conversation with the officer, was allowed to sit with Jennifer. I watched as they brought Ryan out in handcuffs. He saw me standing there on the sidewalk, and our eyes met. For a moment, I saw my son again, really saw him. Saw the shame and fear and desperation. Then he looked away. Let them put him in the car. Let them drive him away. An officer approached me. You're the father? Yes. And you're the one who called it in? Yes. He nodded slowly. That took guts. Most family members don't want to get involved. My daughter-in-law and grandchildren are in danger. I had to get involved. Well, she's safe now. We're taking her statement. There's visible bruising on her face and arms. This isn't going to be a he said, she said situation. I felt relief and grief in equal measure. Another officer came over to talk to us. Jennifer had confirmed she wanted to press charges. She was going to stay with Linda for now. The kids were asleep upstairs. Linda would take them too. A restraining order would be filed in the morning. Margaret and I helped pack bags for Jennifer and the kids, gathered their accessions, their comfort items, Emma's stuffed rabbit, Lucas's favorite blanket. Jennifer moved through the house like a ghost, collecting things with shaking hands. When we were done, she stood in the doorway of the home she'd shared with Ryan for 6 years and just stared. I loved him, she said quietly. I really did. I kept thinking if I could just be better, be enough, he'd be the man I married again. You were always enough, Margaret said, wrapping her in a hug. This was never your fault. I know. Logically, I know, but it's hard to believe it. We followed Linda's car to her hotel, got Jennifer and the kids settled. By the time Margaret and I got back to our own house, the sun was rising. Do you think he'll ever forgive you? Margaret asked as we sat on our porch with coffee, watching the day begin. Probably not. Was it worth it? I thought about Jennifer's face, the relief mixed with terror. Thought about Emma and Lucas, sleeping peacefully in their grandmother's hotel room instead of lying awake listening to their parents fight. Thought about my son, sitting in a jail cell, forced to confront what he'd become. Yes, I said. It was worth it. Ryan was arraigned the next day, charged with domestic assault. His lawyer, not David, someone Ryan hired himself, argued for bail. The judge granted it, but with conditions. No contact with Jennifer or the children. Mandatory anger management classes. Electronic monitoring. He called me from his lawyer's office. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed my life. I gave Jennifer a chance to save hers. She's going to take my kids. You know that, right? She's going to take my kids, and I'll never see them again. That's up to the court, and it's up to you. If you do the work, if you actually change, there's nothing to change. I made one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, Ryan. It was a pattern, and you know it. He hung up on me. I didn't hear from him for 3 months. During that time, Jennifer got the restraining order, filed for divorce, started therapy. Linda stayed for 2 weeks before going home, but Jennifer decided to remain in Michigan, near us. She said she needed the support system. The kids started seeing a therapist, too. Slowly, they got louder, laughed more, stopped flinching at raised voices. Jennifer got a job at a local bookstore, started rebuilding her life, piece by piece. Margaret and I helped with childcare, gave her a safe place to land while she figured things out. Then, 4 months after that night, I got a letter from Ryan. It came to the house, addressed in his handwriting. Dad, I'm writing this from my court-mandated therapy session. My therapist says I need to take accountability, that I need to stop making excuses and face what I've done. So here it is. I abused my wife. I controlled her, isolated her, hurt her, and I convinced myself it was justified, that she drove me to it, that it wasn't that bad. But it was that bad, and it was getting worse. If you hadn't intervened when you did, I don't know what would have happened. I scare myself when I think about it. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. And I'm not writing to justify what I did. There is no justification. I'm writing to say thank you. Thank you for calling the police. Thank you for choosing Jennifer and the kids over me. Thank you for being the kind of man who does the right thing even when it costs you your son. I'm in a program now. Real help, not just court-mandated anger management. I'm learning about the patterns of abuse, about the generational trauma that gets passed down. Did you know Grandpa Patterson used to hit Grandma? Mom never talked about it, but my therapist asked me to research my family history, and I called Aunt Susan. She told me things I never knew. I'm not excusing myself. I made my own choices, but I'm trying to understand how I became this person so I can become someone different. The therapist says it might take years, maybe a lifetime. And even then, Jennifer doesn't owe me forgiveness. The kids don't owe me a relationship. I destroyed that trust, and I may never get it back. But I'm going to do the work anyway, because they deserve better than what I gave them, and I need to be better than what I became. I don't expect you to write back. I just needed you to know that what you did, it saved them. And maybe it saved me too. Ryan, I read the letter 3 times. Then I showed it to Margaret. She cried. So did I. Do you believe him? She asked. I don't know, but I hope he means it. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Ryan's therapist. With Ryan's permission, she wanted to talk to me about family therapy, not reunification, just communication. Help Ryan understand the impact of his actions. Help me and Margaret process our own grief and anger. We agreed. The first session was brutal. Ryan looked like he'd aged 10 years. He sat across from us in that tiny office and listened as Margaret told him how terrified she'd been that night, how betrayed she felt, how she'd questioned everything about the way we'd raised him. I keep asking myself where we went wrong, she said, tears streaming down her face. What did we miss? What did we teach you that made you think this was okay? You didn't do anything wrong, Mom, Ryan said quietly. This was me, my choices, my failures. I told him about Grandpa Patterson, about the things Aunt Susan had shared with me, about the cycles of violence that run through families unless someone breaks them. You broke it, Dad, Ryan said. When you called the police, when you chose Jennifer over me, you broke the cycle. I didn't choose her over you. I chose doing the right thing over protecting you from consequences. Same thing. No, it's not. Because I'm still here, Ryan. I'm still your father. And if you do the work, if you really, genuinely become the man you need to be, I'll be here for that too. His face crumpled. I don't deserve that. No, you probably don't. But that's what family is. We don't give up on each other. We just make damn sure we don't enable each other's worst behaviors either. It's been 18 months now since that night. Ryan completed his court-ordered programs. He's still in therapy. He's living in a small apartment across town, working a job that has nothing to do with the career he used to have. He lost almost everything: his marriage, his house, his reputation, his relationship with his kids. He sees Emma and Lucas once a month. Supervised visits at a family center. Jennifer allows it, though she'll never trust him alone with them. Maybe that will change someday. Maybe it won't. Last week, Ryan came to Sunday dinner at our house. First time in over a year. Jennifer wasn't there. She has her own dinner with us on Thursdays now, but Margaret had invited him, and he'd accepted. It was awkward. Stilted. We talked about safe things, his job, the weather, a book he'd been reading, avoided the hard topics. But as he was leaving, he stopped at the door. Dad, that coffee mug I threw at Jennifer, the one in your kitchen, I think about it every day. How that was the moment everything changed. How if you just ignored it, looked away like everyone else in my life had been doing, I'd probably be in prison now. Or worse, I couldn't look away. I know, and I'm grateful you didn't, even though I hated you for it at the time. After he left, Margaret asked me the same question she'd asked 18 months ago. Was it worth it? I thought about Jennifer, who'd just gotten a promotion at the bookstore and was talking about going back to school. About Emma and Lucas, who were thriving in their new normal. About Ryan, who was genuinely trying to become someone better. About the fact that everyone was alive, safe, healing. Yes, I said. It was worth it. I still don't know if Ryan will fully change. If he'll ever be someone his children can trust again. If he'll break the pattern permanently, or if it's lurking there, waiting to resurface. But I know this. I made 3 calls that night. To a domestic violence counselor, to a lawyer, and to Jennifer's mother. Those 3 calls created a safety net that caught Jennifer when she fell. That gave her options. That showed her she wasn't alone. And sometimes, that's all you can do. Create the net. Make the calls. Choose courage over comfort. The rest is up to them.